How to whine. Oh, one of the most special relationships that exists is the one between a parent and child. It can also be one of the most frustrating and exhausting. Being a best-selling children's author and a human development specialist has made our next guest one of the most trusted experts in the field of parent-child relationships. And a new series of books called Let's Talk About deals with some of these problems. Welcome back, Joy Wiltberry. Always glad to have you here. Now, these books, if you've never seen these books are phenomenal. Let me show them to you. These are these little books, and they deal with specific aspects of things that children do that are problems for parents and problems for the child as well. Here's one about throwing tantrums. Here's one about whining.
You do it well. You read the book, I see.
Here's one for adults called cheating. No. Anyway.
Hey, listen, don't laugh. You'd be surprised at how many adults are buying this for their spouses and their friends.
I'll bet. But let's talk about the concept of the book to begin with.
Yes. Okay, first of all, now the reason that Peter Pan Industries decided to go ahead with this particular series is because it is the very, very first series of books of this nature that has ever been written for the 3 to say like 7 or 8 year old. It's for the younger child. Now, most of, at least my work, has dealt with 6 to 12 years of age. Now, this is for our younger child, and we now are starting to think in terms of moving them into responsibility. These books, what they do is they take these everyday problems like whining and tantrums and lying and complaining and tattling and teasing and all those kinds of things, and what they do is they define the problem for the child. They let him know what that behavior is doing to the people around him, and also what it's doing to himself, and what he or she can do to correct that behavior. So it's very, very clear. It's not just your usual, gee whiz, it's not really nice for us to fight or throw tantrums. It really gets very specific with them.
Now, these books are designed to do, what age group again are these?
It's about 3 years of age up to about 7 or 8.
And are the children expected to read these themselves? Or?
Well, no, that's why we have set them up the way it really is. And incidentally, which is very interesting, what happens when a parent reads this or a teacher reads it to a child, they themselves become educated. For example, the book that you're holding there is on whining. And now this will define the reasons for whining. For example, children whine because they are, first of all, they're bored, or sometimes they're not getting things their way, or sometimes they whine because they want attention, or sometimes they're sick and they're tired or they're hungry. And so this book not only defines those reasons, but it tells them then how can you go about getting those needs met without whining. But it also has a little section in there where it says, now sometimes, whining is a habit. Now, whenever you whine, go tell your parents or the people around you that when you whine, you want to be told that you're whining, and then when they tell you you're whining, stop it so that you can break the habit. Also, your parents might have to ignore you, or they might have to walk away from you, or you might have to go away from them. This doesn't mean they don't love you. This means that they want to help you get out of the habit of whining. So, in a sense, we're giving some guidance to the parents and kind of letting the kid in on it so that he'll be supportive of that behavior and not resistant to it.
Well, this is for 3-year-olds, 3 to 8, you said.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can a 3-year-old comprehend this?
Can they comprehend it? I mean, listen, I think that any behavior that a person is engaged in, they can understand it and handle it if they're taught how. I want to tell you a story. We took these, when these books were first illustrated, we took the illustrations to a preschool. I was shaking in my boots because people had said to me, don't you think this is a little young to start approaching to? I didn't think so. I'd had infant and toddlers and preschool centers for years and years and years, and I thought they were a lot smarter than people were giving them credit for. But I held up this little picture here with the tantrum. And it was really funny because the first reaction, I didn't say anything, I just held up the picture, and the kids, first of all, looked almost horrified, as though they were saying, oh my God, somebody's found us out. I mean, oh no, they're going to finally know that, And then they started smiling and then laughing because of course they understand this. Of course they do. They don't only understand this behavior of the tattling and the whining and the teasing and the complaint. They have mastered it. They're skillful at it, and they use it.
Well, the thing, I suppose tantrums are a little more dramatic
Oh, yeah.
effect. Well, I just wondered if kids even knew they were whining. I guess they do. Right?
See, this is what it does. I think it's a very subconscious thing, but once we bring it into the forefront, once we bring it in and clarify for them, then we can begin to deal with it. Because let me tell you, these things are driving parents crazy. And they are remember earlier on the show when they were talking about that mother who she couldn't perform sexually? She's so exhausted. I mean, how can you perform? I mean, and these mothers, they're sleeping more and they're,
That's because of whining? Whining is ruining the sex lives of America?
Kids are ruining the sex lives of America.
It is. Because, it can be very,
sure,
it can wear you down.
It can be debilitating. And this sleep becomes almost an escape, because it does. It's just like the dripping faucets, especially the whining.
I know.
You got it. You got it.
We're going to be back to talk some more about children and whining and tantrum throwing. Maybe we can find a way to get adults to stop doing it, too, if we're lucky. Stay with us. Good. We're here with Joy Wilt-Berry. We're talking about books she has written for children, and we're going to try to take your phone calls. However, we should tell you that we have been told that we may be interrupted here in just a moment by the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, who I'm told is holding a news conference. I'm not too sure about what. I hope he is. But
No, he's going to be calling about the book.
He's going to be calling us about the books.
He wants
to reduce whining and tantrum throwing, fighting and cheating in the members of the cabinet.
Oh, tell him. We can take him on. We're ready for
all of this. But anyway, as we said, this may happen. So if you're calling us and suddenly you see the president, you'll know why. 955-9800 is the phone number, by the way. Are these the most common complaints that parents have about their children? This list here, whining, tantrum?
Every single solitary problem. There's 18 books in this series, and there are 18 of the major problems that the parents have to contend with their young children.
There are 18 of these little books?
Yeah, 18 of them.
She sold 10 million of these books. You sold 10 million books, haven't you?
Yes,
you're doing very well with them. Well, you should, because they're good books. Let's take a phone call.
Thanks.
I take the phone calls, of course. Good morning. You're on Good Morning New York. What's your question?
Yes, good morning, Miss Berry. My question is, if you have a 7-year-old child and he has a lot of tantrums, and you don't directly indulge in them, but then his other parent, what do you do in an instance like this?
Now, you mean, in other words, this is a situation where the child is involved with two sets of parents?
That's correct. Well, two parents, mother and father.
And who are you?
The mother.
Oh, you're the mother, and the father indulges the tantrums, and you do not.
Exactly.
Okay. A lot of times in a home where there are two people that are interacting with one child, the two people, if they can't get it together, if they can't agree on their approach with the child, they may have to be satisfied with relating to that child in their own way. In other words, what I'm saying is maybe the father will tolerate the tantrums. That doesn't mean that you have to. And you can walk away, or you can send the child away when the child is throwing the tantrum with you. But, it would be obviously better if you could get together with the father and say, look, tantrums are not an appropriate way to handle anger. Let's both try to, modify this behavior by ignoring it, which is the best way to handle tantrums and whining. It's because when you do that, you short circuit the whole, the reason why the child is doing it is to pull you in and get you involved. When you walk away, then there's no more reason for the tantrum.
All right, this has turned into a rather eclectic segment. We're having talking about the president, but we do this in the newsroom. We've just been told that due to a derailment, there's no subway service on the RR line between Queensboro Plaza and Ditmars Boulevard. Derailment occurred at 39th Avenue there. No reports of injuries, fortunately. Bus service is being provided, we're told. So if you're confused about the subways in Queens, that's the reason. Okay, we got some more phone calls. Let's take one right now. Good morning. You're on Good Morning New York. What's your question? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Oh, okay. I have a 3-year-old little girl, and I have a 8-month-old baby girl as well. Now, she gets along with her sometimes, but then there's times that she's really, she'll do little things like, hit her and hug her, not intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
But when my husband is around and, he'll be telling me, well, you have to hit her, right? Now, I hit her, right? But then I feel like, I don't, I'm trying to, I feel bad for her. I know she's a baby too.
You are being very sensitive, and I think very right in that situation to be sensitive to your daughter. First of all, let me explain that if you want to teach a child not to hit, hitting them is not a good way to teach them not to hit. As a matter of fact, any kind of physical punishment, although sometimes it is appropriate, it is the least creative way to discipline a child. There's so many other things that you can do before that point. And a lot of times when this happens with an older child aggressing on a younger child, a lot of times it is because that child is angry that this baby has come in and sort of taken over his territory. There's jealousy. There's feelings of being left out, feelings of wanting more of the parent's attention. And a lot of times you can shortcut that behavior by increasing your attention to that child. But then when this happens, this aggression, one cannot tolerate it. One has got to say this is not acceptable, and you do remove the older child from that baby. But always talking, always saying, the reason you feel angry towards this little baby is because you are jealous or you do need more attention, and you need to talk that over with me instead of hitting the baby. It's not acceptable.
Okay, this series of books are called Let's Talk About Whining, Tantrum Throwing, whatever sort of things kids do by Joy Wilt Berry. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.